Benjamin Geza Affleck-Boldt, born August 15, 1972, is an American actor, director, screenwriter and producer. His accolades include 2 Academy Awards, 3 Golden Globe Awards, 2 BAFTA Awards and 2 Screen Actors Guild Awards. He began his career as a child and starred in the PBS educational series The Voyage of the Mimi in 1984, before a second run in 1988. He later appeared in the independent coming-of-age comedy Dazed and Confused, 1993, and various Kevin Smith films including Chasing Amy, 1997, and Dogma, 1999. Affleck gained wider recognition when he and childhood friend Matt Damon won the Golden Globe and Academy Award for Best Original Screenplay for Good Will Hunting, 1997. He then established himself as a leading man in studio films including the disaster drama Armageddon, 1998, the romantic comedy Forces of Nature, 1999, the war drama Pearl Harbor, 2001, and the thriller Changing Lanes, 2002. After a career downturn, during which he appeared in Daredevil and Glee, both 2003, Affleck received a Golden Globe nomination for his performance in the noir biopic Hollywoodland, 2006. His directorial debut, Gone Baby Gone, 2007, which he also co-wrote, was well received. He then directed, co-wrote, and starred in the crime drama The Town, 2010. For the political thriller Argo, 2012, which he directed, co-produced and starred in, Affleck won the Golden Globe and BAFTA Award for Best Director, and the Golden Globe, BAFTA, and Academy Award for Best Picture. He starred in the psychological thriller Gone Girl in 2014. In 2016, Affleck began playing Batman in the DC Extended Universe, starred in the action thriller The Accountant, and directed, wrote and acted in the gangster drama Live by Night. Affleck is the co-founder of the Eastern Congo Initiative, a grant-making and advocacy-based non-profit organization. He is also a stalwart member of the Democratic Party. Affleck and Damon are co-owners of the production company Pearl Street Films. His younger brother is actor Casey Affleck, with whom he has worked on several films including Good Will Hunting and Gone Baby Gone. Affleck married actress Jennifer Garner in 2005, they have 3 children together. The couple announced their separation in 2015 and filed for divorce in early 2017. During Affleck's childhood, his father had a self-described severe, chronic problem with alcoholism, and Affleck has recalled him drinking all day, every day. His parents divorced when he was 12, and he and his younger brother lived with their mother. 9. His father continued to drink, and spent 2 years homeless. When Affleck was 16, his father moved to Indio, California, to enter a rehabilitation facility and, after gaining sobriety, he worked as an addiction counselor at the facility for many years. Affleck was raised in a politically active, liberal household. He and his brother were surrounded by people who worked in the arts, regularly attended theater performances with their mother, and were encouraged to make their own home movies. The brothers auditioned for roles in local commercials and film productions because of their mother's friendship with a Cambridge area casting director, 13, and Affleck first acted professionally at the age of 7. His mother saved his wages in a college trust fund, and hoped her son would ultimately become a teacher, worrying that acting was an insecure and frivolous profession. David Wheeler, a family friend, was Affleck's acting coach and later described him as a very bright and intensely curious child. When Affleck was 13, he filmed a children's television program in Mexico and learned to speak Spanish during a year spent traveling around the country with his mother and brother. As a Cambridge Rindge and Latin high school student, Affleck acted in theater productions and was inspired by drama teacher Jerry Spica. During this time he became close friends with Matt Damon, whom he had known since the age of 8. Although Damon was 2 years older, the two had identical interests, and traveled to New York together for acting auditions. They saved their acting earnings in a joint bank account to buy train and airline tickets. While Affleck had high SAT scores, he was an unfocused student with poor attendance. He spent a few months studying Spanish at the University of Vermont, chosen because of its proximity to his then-girlfriend, but left after fracturing his hip while playing basketball. At 18, Affleck moved to Los Angeles, studying Middle Eastern affairs at Occidental College for a year and a half. 1981 to 1997, Child Acting and Good Will Hunting. Affleck acted professionally throughout his childhood but, in his own words, not in the sense that I had a mom that wanted to take me to Hollywood or a family that wanted to make money from me. I kind of chanced into something. He first appeared, at the age of 7, in a local independent film called Dark Side of the Street, 1981, directed by a family friend. His biggest success as a child actor was as the star of the PBS children's series The Voyage of the Mimi, 1984, and The Second Voyage of the Mimi, 1988, produced for 6th grade science classes. Affleck worked sporadically on Mimi from the age of 8 to 15 in both Massachusetts and Mexico. As a teenager, he appeared in the ABC after-school special Wanted, A Perfect Man, 1986, the television film Hands of a Stranger, 1987, and a 1989 Burger King commercial. After high school, Affleck moved briefly to New York in search of acting work. Later, while studying at Occidental College in Los Angeles, Affleck directed student films. As an actor, he had a series of knock-around parts, one to the next. He played Patrick Duffy's son in the television film Daddy, 1991, made an uncredited appearance as a basketball player in the Buffy the Vampire Slayer film, 1992, and had a supporting role as an anti-Semite in School Ties, 1992. He played a high school quarterback in the NBC television series Against the Grain, 1993, and a steroid-abusing high school football player in Body to Die For, The Aaron Henry Story, 1994. Affleck's most notable role during this period was as a high school bully in Richard Linklater's cult classic Dazed and Confused, 1993. Linklater wanted a likable actor for the bad guy and, while Affleck was big and imposing, he was so smart and full of life, I just liked him. Affleck later said Linklater was instrumental in demystifying the filmmaking process for him. Affleck's first starring film role was as a nameless art student in the college drama Glory Days, 1995, with Stephen Holden of the New York Times remarking that his affably mopey performance finds just the right balance between obnoxious and sad sack. He then played a bully in filmmaker Kevin Smith's comedy Mallrats, 1995, and became friends with Smith during the filming. Affleck began to worry that he would be relegated to a career of throwing people into their lockers, but Smith put him in the lead role in Smith's romantic comedy Chasing Amy, 1997. The film was Affleck's breakthrough. Janet Maslin of the New York Times praised Affleck's wonderful ease playing the role, combining suave good looks with cool comic timing. Owen Gleiberman of Entertainment Weekly described it as a wholesome and quick-witted performance. When Affleck starred as a recently returned Korean War veteran in the coming-of-age drama Going All the Way, 1997, Todd McCarthy of Variety found him excellent, while Janet Maslin of the New York Times noted that his flair for comic self-doubt made a strong impression. The success of 1997's Good Will Hunting, which Affleck co-wrote and acted in, marked a turning point in his career. The screenplay originated in 1992 when Damon wrote a 40-page script for a playwriting class at Harvard University. He asked Affleck to act out the scenes with him in front of the class and, when Damon later moved into Affleck's Los Angeles apartment, they began working on the script in earnest. The film, which they wrote mainly during improvisation sessions, was set partly in their hometown of Cambridge, and drew from their own experiences. They sold the screenplay to Castle Rock in 1994 when Affleck was 22 years old. During the development process, they received notes from industry figures including Rob Reiner and William Goldman. Following a lengthy dispute with Castle Rock about a suitable director, Affleck and Damon persuaded Miramax to purchase the screenplay. The two friends moved back to Boston for a year before the film finally went into production, directed by Gus Van Sant, and co-starring Damon, Affleck, Minnie Driver, and Robin Williams. On its release, Janet Maslin of the New York Times praised the smart and touching screenplay, while Emmanuel Levy of Variety found it funny, nonchalant, moving and angry. Jay Carr of the Boston Globe wrote that Affleck brought a beautifully nuanced tenderness to his role as the working-class friend of Damon's mathematical prodigy character. Affleck and Damon eventually won both the Golden Globe and the Academy Award for Best Original Screenplay. Affleck has described this period of his life as dreamlike. It was like one of those scenes in an old movie when a newspaper comes spinning out of the black onto the screen. $100 million box office. Awards. He remains the youngest writer, at age 25, to ever win an Oscar for screenwriting. 1998 to 2002, leading man status. Armageddon, released in 1998, established Affleck as a viable leading man for Hollywood studio films. Good Will Hunting had not yet been released during the casting process and, after Affleck's screen test, director Michael Bay dismissed him as a geek. He was convinced by producer Jerry Bruckheimer that Affleck would be a star, but the actor was required to lose weight, become tanned, and get his teeth capped before filming began. The film, where he starred opposite Bruce Willis as a blue-collar driller tasked by NASA with stopping an asteroid from colliding with Earth, was a box office success. Daphne Merkin of The New Yorker remarked, "Affleck demonstrates a sexy Paul Newmanish charm and is clearly bound for stardom." Later in 1998, Affleck had a supporting role as an arrogant English actor in the period romantic comedy Shakespeare in Love, starring his then-girlfriend Gwyneth Paltrow. Leah Lowenstein of Variety remarked that Affleck does some of his very best work, suggesting that comedy may be his true calling. While Janet Maslin of The New York Times found him very funny. Shakespeare in Love won 7 Academy Awards, including Best Picture, while the cast won the Screen Actors Guild Award for Outstanding Performance by a Cast. Affleck then appeared as a small-town sheriff in the supernatural horror film Phantoms. Stephen Holden of The New York Times wondered why actors like Affleck and Peter O'Toole had agreed to appear in the junkie film. Affleck's thudding performance suggests he is reading his dialogue for the first time, directly from cue cards. Affleck and Damon had an on-screen reunion in Kevin Smith's religious satire Dogma, after having appeared in Smith's previous films, Mallrats and Chasing Amy, which premiered at the 1999 Cannes Film Festival. Janet Maslin of The New York Times remarked that the pair, playing fallen angels, bring great, understandable enthusiasm to Mr. Smith's smart talk and wild imaginings. Affleck starred opposite Sandra Bullock in the romantic comedy Forces of Nature, 1999, playing a groom whose attempts to get to his wedding are complicated by his free-spirited traveling companion. Owen Gleiberman of Entertainment Weekly remarked that Affleck has the fast-break charm you want in a screwball hero. While Joe Layden of Variety praised his winning ability to play against his good looks in a self-effacing comic turn. Affleck then appeared opposite Courtney Love in the Little Scene ensemble comedy 200 Cigarettes, 1999. Interested in a directorial career, Affleck shadowed John Frankenheimer throughout pre-production of the action thriller Reindeer Games, 2000. Frankenheimer, directing his last feature film, described Affleck as having a very winning, likable quality about him. "I've been doing this for a long time and he's really one of the nicest." He starred opposite Charlize Theron as a hardened criminal, with Elvis Mitchell of The New York Times enjoying the unexpected casting choice. Affleck often suggests one of the Kennedys playing Clark Kent. He looks as if he has never missed a party or a night's sleep. He's game, though, and his slight dislocation works to the advantage of Reindeer Games. He then had a supporting role as a ruthless stockbroker in the crime drama Boiler Room, 2000. A.O. Scott of The New York Times felt Affleck had traced over Alec Baldwin's performance in Glengarry Glen Ross, 68, while Peter Rayner of New York Magazine said he does a series of riffs on Baldwin's aria, and each one is funnier and crueler than the next. He then provided the voice of Joseph in the animated Joseph, King of Dreams. 70. In his last film role of 2000, Affleck starred opposite his girlfriend Paltrow in the romantic drama Bounce. Stephen Holden of The New York Times praised the understated intensity and exquisite detail of his performance, his portrait of a young, sarcastically self-defined people person who isn't half as confident as he would like to appear is close to definitive. Affleck reunited with director Michael Bay for the critically derided war drama Pearl Harbor, 2001. He later characterized it as a film he did for money, for the wrong reasons. A.O. Scott of the New York Times felt Affleck and Kate Beckinsale do what they can with their lines, and glow with the satiny shine of real movie stars. But Todd McCarthy of Variety said, the blandly handsome Affleck couldn't convince that he'd ever so much as been turned down for a date, much less lost the love of his life to his best friend. Affleck then parodied Good Will Hunting with Damon and Van Sant in Kevin Smith's Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back, 2001, made a cameo in the comedy Daddy and Them, 2001, and had a supporting role in the little scene The Third Wheel, 2002. He portrayed the CIA analyst Jack Ryan in the thriller The Sum of All Fears, 2002. Stephen Holden of the New York Times felt he was miscast in a role previously played by both Harrison Ford and Alec Baldwin. Although Mr. Affleck can be appealing when playing earnest young men groping toward maturity, he simply lacks the gravitas for the role. Affleck had an amazing experience making the thriller Changing Lanes, 2002, and later cited Roger Mitchell as someone he learned from as a director. 6578, Robert Kohler of Variety described it as one of the actor's most thoroughly wrought performances. The journey into a moral fog compels him to play more inwardly and thoughtfully than he ever has before. Affleck became more involved with television and film production in the early 2000s. He and Damon had set up Pearl Street Films in 1998, named after the street that ran between their childhood homes. Their next production company Live Planet, co-founded in 2000 with Sean Bailey and Chris Moore, sought to integrate the internet into mainstream television and film production. Live Planet's biggest success was the documentary series Project Greenlight, aired on HBO and later Bravo, which focused on first-time filmmakers being given the chance to direct a feature film. Project Greenlight was nominated for the Primetime Emmy Award for Outstanding Reality Program in 2002, 2004 and 2005. Push, Nevada, 2002, created, written and produced by Affleck and Bailey, was an ABC mystery drama series that placed a viewer participation game within the frame of the show. Karin James of the New York Times praised the show's nerve, imagination and clever writing, but Robert Bianco of USA Today described it as a knockoff of Twin Peaks. The show was cancelled by ABC after 7 episodes due to low ratings. Over time, Live Planet's focus shifted from multimedia projects to more traditional film production. Affleck and his partners signed a film production deal with Disney in 2002, it expired in 2007. 2003 to 2005, career downturn and tabloid notoriety. While Affleck had been a tabloid figure for much of his career, and was named Sexiest Man Alive by People magazine in 2002, he was the subject of increased media attention in 2003 because of his relationship with Jennifer Lopez. By the end of the year, Affleck had become, in the words of GQ, the world's most overexposed actor. His newfound tabloid notoriety coincided with a series of poorly received films. The first of these was Daredevil, 2003, in which Affleck starred as the blind superhero. Affleck was a longtime comic book fan, and had written a foreword for Kevin Smith's Guardian Devil, 1999, about his love for the character of Daredevil. The film was a commercial success, but received a mixed response from critics. Elvis Mitchell of the New York Times said Affleck was lost in the role, a big man. Mr. Affleck is shriveled by the one-dimensional role. Only his scenes with Jon Favreau have a playful side that allows Mr. Affleck to show his generosity as an actor. In 2014, Affleck described Daredevil as the only film he regretted making. He next appeared as a low-ranking mobster in the romantic comedy Gigli, 2003, co-starring Lopez. The film was almost uniformly banned, with Manila Dargis of the Los Angeles Times remarking that Affleck doesn't have the chops or the charm to maneuver around, or past, bad material. Yet Affleck has repeatedly defended director Marty Brest since the film's release, describing him as one of the really great directors. In his last film role of 2003, Affleck starred as a reverse engineer in the sci-fi thriller Paycheck, 2003. Peter Bradshaw of The Guardian remarked on Affleck's self-deprecating charm and wondered why he could not find better scripts. Manohla Dargis of the Los Angeles Times found it almost unfair to critique Affleck, given that he had such a rough year. Affleck's poor critical notices continued in 2004 when he starred as a bereaved husband in the romantic comedy Jersey Girl, directed by longtime collaborator Smith. Stephen Holden of the New York Times described Affleck as an actor whose talent has curdled as his tabloid notoriety has spread. But Joe Layden of Variety found his on-screen role as a father affecting. Later that year, he starred opposite James Gandolfini in the holiday comedy Surviving Christmas. Holden noted in the New York Times that the film found a clever way to use Ben Affleck's disagreeable qualities. The actor's shark-like grin, cocky petulance and bullying frat boy swagger befit his character. At this point, the quality of scripts offered to Affleck was just getting worse and he decided to take a career break. The Los Angeles Times published a piece on the downfall of Affleck's career in late 2004. The article noted that, unlike film critics and tabloid journalists, few industry professionals seem to be gloating over Affleck's travails. Various producers and agents were interviewed, with Harvey Weinstein describing Affleck as one of the sweetest people I've ever met in this industry. I think the sky's the limit when he wants to focus. And he will. 2006 to 2015, emergence as a director. After marrying actress Jennifer Garner in 2005, and welcoming their first child, Affleck began a career comeback in 2006. Following a starring role in The Little Scene Man About Town and a minor role in the crime drama Smokin' Aces. Affleck won acclaim for his performance as George Reeves in the noir biopic Hollywoodland. Peter Travers of Rolling Stone praised an award-caliber performance. This is feeling, nuanced work from an actor some of us had prematurely written off. Jeffrey McNabb of The Guardian said he beautifully captured the character's curious mix of charm, vulnerability and fatalism. He was awarded the Volpe Cup at the Venice Film Festival and was nominated for a Golden Globe for Best Supporting Actor. Also in 2006, he made a cameo in Smith's Clerks II. Although they remain fans of each other's work. Affleck and Smith have had little contact since the making of Clerks II. In 2007, Affleck made his feature film directorial debut with Gone Baby Gone, a crime drama set in a working-class Boston neighborhood, starring his brother Casey. Affleck co-wrote the screenplay, based on the book by Dennis Lehane, with childhood friend Aaron Stockard, having first mentioned his intention to adapt the story in 2003. It opened to enthusiastic reviews. Manohla Dargis of the New York Times praised the film's sensitivity to real struggle, while Stephen Farber of The Hollywood Reporter described it as thoughtful, deeply poignant, and splendidly executed. While Affleck intended to keep a primary emphasis on directing going forward in his career, he acted in 3 films in 2009. In the ensemble romantic comedy He's Just Not That Into You, the chemistry between Affleck and Jennifer Aniston was praised. Affleck played a congressman in the political thriller State of Play. Wesley Morris of the Boston Globe found him very good in the film's silliest role. But David Edelstein of New York Magazine remarked of Affleck, he might be smart and thoughtful in life, but, as an actor his wheels turned too slowly. He had a supporting role as a bartender in the little scene comedy film Extract. Peter Travers of Rolling Stone described his performance as a goofball delight. While Manohla Dargis of the New York Times declared it a real performance. In 2010, Affleck starred in The Company Men as a mid-level sales executive who is made redundant during the financial crisis of 2007 to 2008. David Denby of The New Yorker declared that Affleck gives his best performance yet. While Richard Corliss of Time found he nails Bobby's plunge from hubris to humiliation. Following the modest commercial success of Gone Baby Gone, Warner Brothers developed a close working relationship with Affleck and offered him his choice of the studio's scripts. He decided to direct the crime drama The Town, 2010, an adaptation of Chuck Hogan's novel Prince of Thieves. He also co-wrote the screenplay and starred in the film as a bank robber. The film became a surprise box office hit, and gained further critical acclaim for Affleck. A.O. Scott of the New York Times praised his skill and self-confidence as a serious director, while Roger Ebert of the Chicago Sun-Times noted, "Affleck has the stuff of a real director. Everything is here. It's an effective thriller, he works closely with actors, he has a feel for pacing." Also in 2010, Affleck and Damon's production company, Pearl Street Films, signed a first-look producing deal at Warner Brothers. Affleck soon began work on his next directorial project, Argo, 2012, for Warner Brothers, written by Chris Terrio and starring Affleck as a CIA operative. The film tells the story of the CIA plan to save 6 U.S. diplomats during the 1979 Iran hostage crisis by faking a production for a large-scale science fiction film. Anthony Lane of The New Yorker said the film offered further proof that we were wrong about Ben Affleck. Peter Travers of Rolling Stone remarked, "Affleck takes the next step in what looks like a major directing career. He directs the hell out of it, nailing the quickening pace, the wayward humor, the nerve-frying suspense." A major critical and commercial success, Argo won the Academy Award, Golden Globe Award, and BAFTA Award for Best Picture. The cast won the Screen Actors Guild Award for Outstanding Performance by a Cast. Affleck himself won the Golden Globe Award, Directors Guild of America Award, and BAFTA Award for Best Director, becoming the first director to win these awards without a nomination for the Academy Award for Best Director. The following year Affleck played a romantic lead in Terrence Malick's experimental drama To the Wonder. Malick, a close friend of Affleck's godfather, had first met with the actor in the 1990s to offer advice about the plot of Good Will Hunting. Peter Bradshaw of The Guardian enjoyed a performance of dignity and sensitivity, while The New Yorker's Richard Brody described Affleck as a solid and muscular performer who conveys a sense of thoughtful and willful individuality. Affleck's performance as a poker boss was considered a highlight of the poorly reviewed thriller Runner, 2013. Betsy Sharkey of the Los Angeles Times remarked that it was one killer of a character, and Affleck plays him like a Bach concerto, every note perfectly played. Also in 2013, Affleck hosted the sketch comedy show Saturday Night Live for the 5th time since 2000, becoming a member of the Five Timers Club. He then pushed back production on his own directorial project to star as a husband accused of murder in David Fincher's psychological thriller Gone Girl, 2014. Fincher cast him partly because he understood what it felt like to be misrepresented by tabloid media. What many people don't know is that he's crazy smart, but since he doesn't want that to get awkward, he downplays it. I think he learned how to skate on charm. David Edelstein of New York Magazine noted that Fincher's controlled style of directing had a remarkable effect on Affleck's acting. "I never thought I'd write these words, but he carries the movie. He's terrific." Justin Chang of Variety found Affleck perfectly cast. "It's a tricky turn, requiring a measure of careful underplaying and emotional aloofness, and he nails it completely." In 2015, Affleck and Damon's Project Greenlight was resurrected by HBO for one season, 2016-present, DC Extended Universe, and continued directing. Given Affleck's growing reputation as a filmmaker, his decision to star as Batman in the 2016 superhero film Batman v Superman, Dawn of Justice was regarded by Anthony Lane of The New Yorker as a backward step into the realm of beefcake, and by David Scoff of The New York Times as a somewhat bewildering choice. Although the casting choice was met with intense fan backlash, Affleck's performance ultimately earned a positive reception. Andrew Barker of Variety found him a winningly cranky, charismatic presence, while Brian Trude of USA Today enjoyed his strong and surprisingly emotional take on the character. The film is part of the DC Extended Universe. He made a cameo appearance as Batman later that year in Suicide Squad, another film in the same shared film universe. Affleck subsequently starred as an autistic accountant in the action thriller The Accountant. The film was a commercial success, greatly exceeding box office expectations. Peter Debreuge of Variety felt Affleck's boy-next-door demeanor so normal and non-actorly that most of his performances feel like watching one of your buddies up on screen, was a terrific fit for the role. Stephen Holden of the New York Times wondered why Affleck, looking appropriately dead-eyed and miserable, committed himself to the film. Live by Night, which he wrote, directed, co-produced, and starred in, was released in late 2016. Adapted from Dennis Lehane's novel of the same name, the Prohibition-era gangster drama received largely unenthusiastic reviews and failed to recoup its $65 million production budget. David Sims of The Atlantic described it as a fascinating mess of a movie and criticized Affleck's stiff, uncomfortable performance. But he noted that one of the last action scenes is so wonderfully staged, its action crisp and easy to follow, that it reminds you what skill Affleck has with the camera. In October 2016, Affleck and Damon made a one-off stage appearance for a live reading of the Good Will Hunting screenplay at New York's Screenplay Theater. Affleck will reprise his role as Batman in Justice League, which is scheduled to be released in November 2017. He is set to star in The Batman directed by Matt Reeves, which is expected to begin production in 2018. Affleck was initially hired to write, direct, and produce the film, as well as star in it, but later stepped down as director citing an unmanageable workload. He has several films in development as director, the first of which is a film adaptation of Nathaniel Philbrick's book, Bunker Hill, A City, A Siege, A Revolution, for Warner Brothers. With Aaron Stockard writing the screenplay. He is also attached to direct and star in Fox's adaptation of Agatha Christie's The Witness for the Prosecution, Relationships and Family. Affleck began dating actress Gwyneth Paltrow in October 1997 after meeting at a Miramax dinner, and later worked together on Shakespeare in Love, 1998. Although they first broke up in January 1999, months later, Paltrow persuaded Affleck to co-star with her in Bounce, 2000, and they soon resumed their relationship. They separated again in October 2000. In a 2015 interview, Paltrow said she and Affleck remain friends. Affleck had an 18-month relationship with actress, singer Jennifer Lopez from 2002 to 2004. They began dating in July 2002, after meeting on the set of Jill Yi, 2003, and later worked together on the Jenny from the Block music video and Jersey Girl, 2004. Their relationship received extensive media coverage. They became engaged in November 2002, but their planned wedding on September 14, 2003, was postponed with 4 days' notice because of excessive media attention. They broke up in January 2004. Lopez later described the split as "my first real heartbreak" and attributed it in part to Affleck's discomfort with the media scrutiny. In 2013, Affleck said he and Lopez occasionally touch base. Affleck had an 11-year relationship with actress Jennifer Garner from 2004 to 2015. They began dating in mid-2004, having established a friendship on the sets of Pearl Harbor, 2001, and Daredevil, 2003. They were married on June 29, 2005, in a private Turks and Caicos ceremony. Victor Garber, who officiated the ceremony, and his partner, Rainer Andresen, were the only guests. They announced their intention to divorce in June 2015, and filed legal documents in April 2017. Affleck and Garner have 3 children together, daughters Violet Ann, b. December 2005, and Serafina Serraros Elizabeth, b. January 2009. And son Samuel Sam Garner, b. February 2012. In their divorce filings, Affleck and Garner sought joint physical and legal custody of their children. While Affleck believes paparazzi attention is part of the deal of stardom, he has spoken out against paparazzi interest in his children. He has called for legislation to require paparazzi to maintain a certain distance from children and to blur their faces in published photos. In 2017, it was reported that Affleck is in a relationship with television producer Lindsay Shookus.